It's one of the worst things to me. And I remember a friend of mine calling me, she was crying. And she said, I said, what happened to you? She was like, oh, I just went up, coming from the embassy because my dad filed for me. And she said, out of the 4 kids, only one of us are for my dad, is my brother. And she was bawling on the whole place. And she said, her mother was still saying she never cheated. She said, I must a duppy breed her. That's evil. None of the kids were his.
Malayans, let's go down to the island of Jamaica, where in 2024, at a paternity testing company called 876 DNA Tests, 47% of the men they tested were not the biological father, as claimed by the mother. That's 1 in 2, 50%, brethren. That means quite a number of men are wearing jackets, sometimes more than one jacket at the same time. Now let me explain what jacket is to you guys.
She might be fooling around with 2 men. She go play hokey pokey to find out which one is the better daddy, which one is the better candidate. So it's like Russian roulette. Is it Tom, Dick, or Harry? Which is the better father? So it doesn't really matter who is the biological dad, especially in this economy. Like, people can hardly afford to live.
Paternity fraud. A mother telling a man he fathered a child knowing it's not true. In Jamaican, it's called giving a man jacket.
Listen to what one lady had to say.
Sometimes them don't really know. Which is some of them know, them wicked enough, them know. Which is some innocent, them don't know, say, is the next man's child. To when the child start to grow now and start to show features, then them realize, say, so there is a problem is here.
She made the claim that some of these women are innocent and really don't know which man send his anaconda juices into her uterus. Apparently it's normal or okay to be raw dogging more than one man at the same time without protection on either party. This must be a Jamaican culture, brethren. Only one fella was willing to talk on camera on how paternity fraud affected him. He was the son, or as they say, he was the jacket.
He always felt he was different from his 4 brothers and 1 sister.
I recognize I was short. Most of my brothers then were tall because mommy has 7 of us, 1 girl, 6 boys. I was the 3rd boy for mommy, but when I discovered the first child for my father, I recognized that I was not from this stock.
He ignored the whispers he was a jacket all his life until he was 40 years old in the year 2000. By now, the man who fathered him had died. He was and still is an ordained pastor.
One Friday, I went to Morant Bay. My wife was working at Morant Bay Parish Library then, and she worked with a woman by the name of Yvonne. I don't remember her surname. And Yvonne said to me, "Oh, you come into the library?" And I was calling you today, Scotty, and you never answer. So something clicked in my mind. Could this be the brother they said that looks like me?
But he still had to be sure. This man just so happened to be religious as well.
He invited me, that young man, because I knew him from Norris,
The man who you found out was your brother?
Yes, man, I knew him from Norris.
You knew him from before?
Yes.
Long time?
Yeah, but 2 men look like man. Me never put it, say he could be my brother. So when he called me now, he said he's having a convention. And where he was pastoring is a place in St. Thomas, right in St. Thomas here.
So this man himself is also a pastor?
Yes, he's a pastor.
The man's sister used to watch Mr. Scott preach for years.
They used to see me come and preach at churches, and they would say, "Jesus Christ, what a man look like, Daddy."
Then came an invitation to speak at a convention.
When he invited me to the convention, something clicked in my spirit. Is it that he's inviting me for his wife and children to see me and to ask some thought-provoking question? After the meeting, we exchanged number, and I was saying to myself, why he's so interested in getting my number? But I didn't say anything to him. But there and then, Giovanni, trust me, the Holy Spirit told me, this is your brother.
This is your brother?
Yes. So when I got home, as I got in, my phone rang, and he said, "Mr. Scott." I said, "What, Mr. Coleman?" He said, "Me have something to tell you, And I prayed to him in saying, "You want to tell me so we are brother?" And him started crying.
He started to cry?
He started to cry.
What was your reaction?
Well, tears well up my eyes too.
He had always dismissed the idea that his biological father was not the man who raised him, until now. He immediately inquired whether he was still alive.
So we asked him, man, that is a live man. And my sister, them may want trouble, because them say, it happened a long time, if you go and trouble the man. But to me see now, I say, a death stamp for papa. Me say, fly or fly low. Me have to carry in the family.
They planned to meet up the following day. Mr. Scott didn't sleep that Friday night.
I don't think I slept as I normally do for the entire night because the anticipation was great. So when I got up the Saturday morning and prepared meal, the time he told me that he was coming, he came about 2 minutes after the time. And when he drove up with him, he said, "Come on, Mr. Coleman. I hope he'd cook food early morning." And so we asked him, man, and the way he laughed and talk, he said, "Yes, this is my stock."
Because finally, he saw his features in someone else's face. It was more of the same when he reached the house in Cheswick.
And my sisters actually saw me, and the way they laughed, the joy, the vibes, the camaraderie, you can see that
The DNA.
it's that close. Man, it's like they knew me a long time. They never even want me to leave the yard.
And then he met his father.
I can't recall seeing him from a distance, but the first time in close proximity, and I hugged. And he didn't cry, but I cried.
You cried?
And when I look at him, just how my nose stay, the way he laugh, the way he see things, I said, this is my father.
But then, a myriad of questions swirled in his head along with a myriad of emotions, not all pleasant.
Having hugged him and felt elated, and like that feeling a bit, I start to think now, like I feel like a slight anger, like what would it like, because my brother started to tell me how he taught them to swim and the catch fish together, and I was imagining what would it be like to be brought up with him.
So, why did his father stay away for 40 years?
My father told me that my mother said, leave the boy alone and don't mess up the boy head because it happened a long time already. Make it just slide. So my father apologized to me, say, I could have come and see you a long time, but my mother, can't me tell you, my mother wasn't a simple woman. My mother, like, she rules men. Like my mother run things in a relationship.
Yeah.
If my mother said, this is B, you can't tell her when you say, I see.
Having gone through the euphoria of meeting his father, he felt anger building, but not toward any of his parents.
No, just anger within myself. It wasn't directed to anybody. Because having spoke to my father at length, asked him why I'm just knowing you, and he explained, I believe he not coming to see me was really justifiable, knowing that my mother, because maybe my mother would have even told him, I do something to him for him not to come. I wouldn't say I was angry at mommy, but I was disappointed at my mother.
So, what was the story of how his mother and his father got together while she was in another relationship?
My father and the man with whom my mommy lived, the father of my other sibling, were very good friends, but him couldn't dance. And my father was a roots man, dancer, innovative, and he was amazed by it profession. And apparently, my mother now is a sporter, so my mother used to go to dance, and I was told that he was the one to whom that man delegated the responsibility to take my mother. So him and my mother ride go dance.
So Mr. Scott trust Mr. Coleman
Yes,
to wife
that's
go
what I'm
dance?
saying. And his wife then,
Was his girlfriend?
his girlfriend. So like
Him a virgin, say,
he
nice.
virgin man, so, like in Rome, but if that never happened, I would not be here. You understand?
Here's how it happened.
Him say, John, see no woman at Chiswick where you love. And my father in response say, you me love. So me know me on camera, but me have the same thing. So I came peace and get me. And he said, no man, me get up on bed, man. And I say, then if mama said to you, are you me love? I wanna come over from came peace and I was a night. That the response we want, so mama like a long time. So it was a big laugh for the family.
But at the time, it was no laughing matter when the man who raised Errol found out Errol was not his biological son. Following her infidelity, his mother's partner, Mr. Scott, was determined to harm the man who impregnated his spouse. But his mother made them relocate from Cheswick, where they were originally from, to Port Morant. None of the children knew what had happened.
Because having left Chiswick, it safeguarded my father. Because I heard the man say he's going to kill my father, for what he did.
That's Mr. Scott?
Yes.
You heard him say that?
No, man.
You hear about it?
Yes, I heard about it.
Armed with his new information, Pastor Scott confronted his mother the following day.
When I met my brother, I went to my mother and said, Mama, live with me. My father is alive. And my mother hesitated for about a minute and said, no, are the man who did your father? And I said, Mama, I meet a brother last night at a convention. If that man is not my brother, me not having a brother. And me I go see me daddy tomorrow morning. And she said, oh, okay. So having told her the Friday what I would have done the Saturday, I went the Sunday morning to pretend as if I went around here to have a bath for her to ask me, did you go and see the man? But me I mill around and she not asking me. We went out in the bathroom twice, Giovanni, and turned on the pipe like your bed. And she not asked me to come up back. And then me she clean her and say, Tony, you go see the man yesterday? I say, yes, Mama. How him look like? I say, Mama, if that man is my father, and my mother broke down and start to cry.
Did you cry at that point?
Yes, and I cried with her and I hugged her and I told her, I said, I commend you for your wisdom.
In fact, Errol Scott says the man who raised him never treated him any differently from his other siblings, even after he confirmed he was not his biological son.
My lions, there is so much to comment on, but the main issue falls on the shoulder of his mother. His real father did not force his way onto her. She was already in a relationship and apparently like his real father. She didn't care about her other men at home. As I tell you all, my lions, a woman controls access to the punani, and that makes it incumbent on her to ensure she or the man is protecting themselves. That doesn't absolve the man from his responsibilities of having a condom on hand. But a man cannot get pregnant. He won't be carrying that baby for 9 months and dealing with all the issues she has to. What I'm saying is that a woman has more to lose. She has more to lose than the man if she gets pregnant. Plus, let's not forget, she already had a man. So bringing home an STD and a germinating baby was not an issue for her. The damn foolishness! My lions, some people believe that a woman should never disclose that the child belonged to another man. Take a listen.
We could actually put a person who is in a position of extreme vulnerability, just having a baby, at major risk of being killed. Yes. And making somebody who would normally harm somebody go into a fit and harm somebody and then spend their life. So the child now has no support system. Absolutely. It's an absolutely frighteningly stupid idea.
There's some kids who are jackets, sometimes in the communities people know. And sometimes even the father is in the community and people know and they see him and say, boy, look like the brother, and it can lead to bullying or ridicule, etc. And you have long-term consequences, which I have actually seen. For example, if a boy has been deceived by his mom and told that this man is his dad, and he later finds out it's not his dad, that can shatter that boy's confidence in women in general.
It is better for us to have a social marketing to educate people, to say, here are the reasons there's child shifting, here's what you can do if you suspect.
No, brethren, they have valid points, see? But their points are completely one-sided in the favor of the mother. A woman knows if she allows more than one man to bust a nut in them cheeks. She either know who the father is or she don't. And if she is already in a relationship or not, she will do a cost-benefit analysis, brethren. A cost-benefit analysis and select what she thinks is the right father.
She might be fooling around with two men. She go play hokey pokey to find out which one is the better daddy, which one is the better candidate. So it's like Russian roulette. Is it Tom, Dick, or Harry? Which is the better father? So it doesn't really matter who is the biological dad, especially in this economy. Like, people can hardly afford to live.
My point is, she knows what she is doing from the day she allowed these men into her bed, or the cane field, all the way to when the jacket is delivered to the jacket holder. She knows what she is doing. The man, the jacket holder, and the real father are left in the dark, and the mother walks around like an angel. A child deserves to know his or her real father from day one, whether he is around or not. A man should be given the choice of raising another man's child.
I was 11. My mother brought me to this really big house. I said I was going to look for my aunt. When I got there, I saw this really light-skinned lady. Her hair was, blonde, and, this really big, nice house. I grew up poor. So I was like, I don't know which auntie I have that lives in this nice house. I've never heard of her before. But I had just passed my common entrance, and I know that my mother and my father had just broken up. So, I was passed to go high school, and, she needed help with me. So she took me to see my aunt for some help. Went there, and I heard them talking about this different man, this name that I don't know, that he's my dad, and blah, 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 blah. So my aunt went inside the house, she was going for some money to help out and stuff. My mother turned to me and said that, so-and-so isn't your father. So-and-so is your father, and this is your real aunt. And I was like, of course, I broke down. I was in tears because it's like she took my dad from me. Anyhow, that happened. So she said to me, if I wanted to leave, we can leave and never talk about this. Of course, I didn't want to leave. I didn't want to know who my real family are. So, of course, I stayed. I spoke to my aunt. Later on in life, I got to know my real family. Anyways, guys, the reason why I'm talking about this story is, let me tell you something that you don't know. You see, paternity fraud, it always, most of the time, come out. And that's why enough women lose them head and all sorts of things. But let me tell you something. It has a negative effect on the people involved, meaning the children. Guys, if the man at Oldcroft, make the child know say at Oldcroft there are your father, right? You are the one who laid down with him. The other, she talked about in her video about, taking them to court, make sure that the Jamaican government should make sure that these people are held liable for the children that they are saying no, that it's theirs. Yes, let them be liable. There's already, systems in place for you to take a man to court if he is the father of that child. But there is absolutely nothing in place right now to protect men from paternity fraud in Jamaica. And men have rights too when it comes to children. Children have the right to know where they're from, whether it's because them come from the scum of the earth or not. Jamaican government, big up yourself for this one. Too much jacket out there.
Member of Parliament for St. James Central, Hurai Clark, believes Jamaica needs a law mandating DNA testing at birth.
What it will do, it will save us a lot of time, court time, if and when there should be an argument as who the father is in the future of that child.
Malayans, there has to be consequences to these types of paternity fraud, and no amount of education will fix a damn thing. Why should it? Notice how the pastor's mother lied to him decades later after the deed was done. See?
Pastor Scott confronted his mother the following day.
When I met my brother, I went to my mother and said, Mama, live with me. My father is alive. And my mother hesitated for about a minute and said, no, are the man with your father?
She does not want to be held accountable by anyone. That's normal female behavior. And if you dig deeper, you will find that most women are against paternity testing at birth. And I wonder why. Hold tight, me gone again.